Hello, beloveds. This is Rev.Crystal Sage reading my Martin Luther King Day reflection, Faith Made Flesh, and I'm the Executive Director of Sister Source Incorporated. When I was in college, I sat in the cushioned seats of a newly renovated center dedicated to one of the most profound voices of a generation, Marian Anderson. The music hall seats 500 people, and the lobby tells her story of profound discrimination and highlights her deep, evocative voice. On this day, if you close your eyes, you may have thought you were listening to the voice of Dr. Martin Luther King, as his daughter, Bernice King, spoke into the microphone. Bernice addressed an auditorium full of hopeful Black students and staff at my alma mater, Cheney University, the first HBCU, since we were all well poised to go into the world with a heart for change. While Bernice has a more feminine octave, her tone and cadence is spot on with her father's. If you have ever wondered if Dr. King's family sees the ridiculous memes and vile photoshops, she does, they do, and yes, it angers them. What angers me, however, is how little of Dr. King's message we are willing to confront. We cycle through the same few Black firsts and Black greats during February, and our favorite businesses post on MLK Day about service and justice for all, while actively maintaining a quality of community that is justice for some. Justice for the few was not the message. Economic luck was not the message. Bootstraps and their ability to overcome systemic stepping on were not the message. I have heard many people this week name the reality that Renee Good, rest in peace, beloved, is white people's George Floyd. And while I agree, allies and activists must also interrogate why George Floyd was not white people's George Floyd. You know? Bernice pointed out the reality that sterilizing her father's agitation, acting like he was loved in every city, and using his birthday to do a little trash pickup is a far cry from the reality of where we are and how we got here. She's right, of course, because I'm from the DC area, and my family vividly remembers how the entire community groaned when the troublemaker was coming to town. Martin is coming, Martin is coming, would spill over the airwaves. So many people in Chocolate City, Washington, D.C., would audibly sigh as they were looking at an entire week of white people inciting violence and counter-protests. Those who would have preferred freedom through inaction or less agitation would also prefer their boat stay unrocked. But beloveds, in 2026, I want to tell you that freedom is not coming in the mail. There will be no knock on the door from Publishers Clearinghouse with a freedom check. Nice and kind are not the same thing, just like peace and quiet are not the same thing. Know the difference. In parentheses, it says, please hear the words of her father below from Bernice's mouth, and please enjoy the altar to her mother, Coretta, as she asks us to slow down and remember her today. And that clip is from Atlanta today on Martin Luther King Day 2026, which you can look up. So many women held up this movement. This is a journey propped up by partnership and underdogs. Ordinary people willing to do extraordinary things. We remember Colette Colvin today, who died last week at 85 years young. She was the first to refuse her seat on a bus, but her teen pregnancy prevented her from being the face of the movement at only 15 years old. Organizers had to decide on a strategy for resistance, so that form of protest eventually was led by Rosa Parks. We honor the first to take on the call to action and the first to achieve standing and achievements in several fields, while also fully acknowledging our African and Indigenous ancestors' greatness. We can spend ample time honoring those parts of the movement while also recognizing that enslaved people and their descendants all were the first to do everything. well before slavery. We come from a long line of great achievements, accomplishments, and innovations. Every single ancestor was somebody before the Americas. Our history starts with our heritage and identities, which transcend the limited stories told about our struggle to freedom. When Viola Fletcher died on November 24th, 2025, she was the oldest living descendant of the Tulsa Massacre at 111 years old. The Greenwood Business District and the bustling Black community were much like the others that had emerged from grit, cooperative economics, and frankly, segregation. In parentheses, the Harlem Renaissance actually was smack dab in the middle of the Great Depression and ran from the 1900s to the 1930s. In 1921, the all-Black business district in Tulsa, Oklahoma boasted banks, doctors, financiers, department stores, arts, music, and even a pilot with a private plane. The seething jealousy led to insecure white people putting a torch to the businesses and residences, and within 24 hours, 35 blocks and 1,200 homes were burned down. It is estimated that 300 people died. One of the men from that time was asked about his envy and famously said, "How dare these Negroes have a grand piano in their house, and I don't have a piano in my house?" It is also said that when asked if he knew how to play a piano, the answer was, well, no. In the Black sci-fi series Lovecraft Country, a scene of the burning homes is vividly depicted because the main characters need a book of spells from an ancestor who was about to succumb to the fire. Letitia, Letty, Lewis, played by Journey Smollett Bell, couldn't stomach the decision to take the spell book and not warn her boyfriend's ancestor about the fire that was started elsewhere in the house. Face to face with this brave soul from the past, she has to admit that, of course, if she flees the home and survives, it could alter the future in ways that no one could predict. Letty was pregnant. The ancestor, Nana Hattie, made the decision to stay and held Letty's stomach as she said, "When my great-great-grandson is born, he will be my faith turned to flesh." To Dr. Martin, to Coretta, to Viola, to Colette, to all of our freedom fighters and pre and post diaspora ancestors, to all of our allies and their ancestors, may we be faith turned flesh. And may we rise to meet this moment. Ashe, amen, and may it be so.
When my great-great-grandson is